Welcome to the Rewilded Human Podcast, where Dr. Lucille, holistic psychiatrist and psychotherapist, and Dr. Lynn, naturopath and nutritional consultant, help you reconnect with your true self through practical tips on mental health, nutrition, exercise, relationships, and spirituality. With a dash of humor, they tackle today's toughest issues to guide you back to a harmonious, vibrant life.
Welcome to the Rewilded Human Podcast. I'm Dr. Lucille, and along with my podcast partner, Dr. Lynn, we had the exquisite pleasure of interviewing Debbi Sluys, the queen of vision boards. Vision boards are tools to supercharge your manifestation skills so that you can create your best possible life. In this episode, Debbi will teach us what is a vision board and what isn't, how to determine your power word, how to create a vision board that aligns with universal laws, what's the difference between visions and goals, and how to create a relationship with your vision board that will truly empower you to create your best life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Well, it's so exciting to have you here, Debbi, and Lynn and I are just thrilled to learn more about manifestation, and you are the vision board queen. So you're going to tell us all about how to do vision boards in a way that will really make us all super manifestors, right?
That's right.
So good.
So welcome, Debbi. Can't wait to hear more.
Yes. So I'll start off with the first question, Debbi. Just tell us, first of all, how you got into doing vision boards.
Well, I definitely manifested it. Let's put that right out there. But I didn't even know that at the time. And we are all manifesting all the time. Sometimes manifestation is just attached to positive things, but we're also manifesting negative things into our life because where our focus goes, our energy flows. And so we are constantly manifesting. And I was definitely unaware. I spent 30 years in childcare. So I was a childcare director of a multi-site, not-for-profit organization. I loved it. I loved supporting children, their families, my educators. So when I started, I was the youngest. I was the newest employee, and the position of supervisor came up, and I interviewed for it, and I really went in like a deer in the headlights to be the organization's leader. But we grew it over the 30 years to 4 locations. We served, when I left, about 450 children. I loved it. My role really matured and grew. And as I'm in Canada, I'm in Ontario, Canada. And as Ontario began to explore other ways of being with children, we recognized that the way that we were offering it was very contrived. It was based on curriculum. It was based on really almost like Hallmark seasons of, like we're going to talk about pumpkins in the fall, we're going to talk about Christmas in the winter and snowmen. And it really wasn't interest-based or play-based learning. And so what we looked towards in Ontario was towards places like Reggio, Italy, to Australia, New Zealand, where they were really much farther ahead in understanding children's development and how it was connected to learning. And so I was really excited about that because I realized quickly that I am an emergent learner. I am a play-based learner, even though I didn't understand what that all meant because I had been taught in school to do it a certain way. But I always felt more aligned when children were learning what they were interested in. And so the reason I'm telling you that background is because that has really played a big role in the way that I coach and in the way that I've set up my program, because I realized in my offer was that my educators also we weren't treating them in the way that we wanted us to treat the children. I wanted them to also learn based on what they're interested in. I wanted them to discover what their passion and their why was. That was not my role. I was doing some professional development. It started to go around the province because we were actually chosen as one of 7 childcares in the province to pilot this new way of being with children. I started doing the public speaking and workshops. And I realized I was actually talented at that, and people were really enjoying what I was offering, and I was enjoying the feedback, but I realized that most educators didn't understand their why. And so I started to explore that for myself. I started to do my own personal development work and found people like Tony Robbins, Brené Brown, that those are really Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And so that started to influence my work as a childcare director. And then I came across Jack Canfield. And Jack Canfield is the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I consumed all of his stuff that was on YouTube, and I discovered vision boards. And I had never done a vision board up until 7 years ago. And I was obsessed, and I still am. I mean, I still wake up every day thinking about vision boards, going to sleep thinking about vision boards. I love the process. Then for 2 years, did both. I did childcare and vision boarding. I actually built a studio with my husband in his warehouse. My husband owned a building supply company, so I had a specifically built studio. I call it a playroom for adults, where it was like just gorgeous. It was Kate Spade inspired. It was so pretty and beautiful. But just like I believe children deserve beauty in their life, so do adults. And so I wanted a space where people could feel safe and that it just fired up the imagination. And so, yeah, so that's where it all got started, was really being inspired by Jack, and then doing both, having it as a side hustle. And then I stepped full time into it 2 years after that, and gave my notice in 2020 to my board of directors. So I'll pause there, take a breath, but that's kind of how I got started, and what's really been influencing my work.
That's really cool. And at this workshop, you have adults, they come in and they have like bits and pieces that they can put onto their own vision board, so they can build a vision board physically there with you, right?
That's right. So that's the way I started, was it was in person. And then when I gave my notice to my board of directors, I gave them 6 months, because if you've ever moved before, physically moved, well, I know you've moved to Spain, you know what that's like. It's like, I don't know, like it's like boxes upon boxes and things that you didn't even know that you kept. And so I had 3 offices, and so 30 years of stuff. And so I gave myself 6 months, but unbeknownst to me and the rest of the world, it was going to be shutting down with COVID. And so all of a sudden, I had one of the biggest tests in my life was, what do I do? Because I can't do vision boarding in person anymore. My studio was no longer available to me. I couldn't do them around the province. Like, what am I going to do? And so I hired a coach, which was, again, I followed my intuition and I knew I needed an expert. So I hired a coach. I remember I spent $3,000 on that coach, and wasn't very much in the light of what I've invested since. But at the time I thought, oh, that was a lot. As an educator, our training was mostly free, or, $50 or something. But that was the best thing. And she had me create a workshop as my final project that would be online. Now, I mean, we're doing this on Zoom here, but I had never really used Zoom. I mean, I don't even use the phone anymore. I don't call people anymore. I just Zoom everybody. I don't know about you, but so Zoom was really just kind of coming in with COVID. And what my project was my workshop there for that coach was to create an online workshop around my practice with vision boards. But I didn't know yet if it would translate fully. So I created a workshop based on something that I had been using since the beginning of January, and actually since 2015, which was a power word. So a word of the year. And that word, especially in 2020, was so incredibly helpful and powerful for me, because I had chosen the word generous. So in January, before I knew about COVID, my word was generous. And I used that as my identity. I am a generous person. So when the health unit was coming to me and changing the rules every week, when my staff were wondering who's taking over, what's happening, are we being shut down, like all the pressures, I would respond in a generous way. And I would remind myself. So it's like a tool to self-regulate. So it's like a thermostat. So instead of getting too hot, too cold, fight or flight, it just, right? It's like the Goldilocks, just right. Like it just helps me get right back into that. And so that was really helpful. And so I created that workshop. I had 65 people register, created 10 paying clients from that. And I was like, all right, God, I hear you. I got the message. I need to keep going, not go beg for my job back, because that was really something I thought I don't know how I'm going to do this. And so from then on, I knew I was in the right track, in my purpose, where I was supposed to be going. And then, it just kept growing from there. I did online workshops during the COVID. I actually created an academy as well. So now I train trainers. So I have over 50 people now around the world, 5 different countries, who use my proven process. So, your response determines so much your outcome. And the way that I responded as generous, allowed this rest of this part of my journey to flow. So to answer your question around, do they do it on a board? Yes, but I also do it online as well.
And this power word, how do you choose your power word each year?
So it takes about 90 minutes for me to work through that process with people, but I use provocations such as, what's your bliss? So I think Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, that's one of his questions is, what's your bliss? So just a brain dump, what's your bliss? And start to connect the dots on various answers that come up with the exercises that I give. I mean, do you want to have fun right now? Do you want to do one?
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Cool.
absolutely.
Okay. So for you, and then for your listener, pull out a clean piece of paper, if you have that handy. And on it, I want you to draw a diamond shape, about the size of a Post-it note. Yep, you got it. You can use a Post-it note if you've got one handy. Now, on the top of the diamond, so you're going to turn your Post-it note so it's like a diamond shape. In the top of your diamond, you're going to write down your, now maybe if you're not familiar with using the word vision, you can maybe use the word goal. Oh, you can actually use the full Post-it note on
you
there.
can use the full Post-it note. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need a diamond in the diamond.
right.
Yep, just use it. Yep. And then in the top of your diamond, write down your goal or your vision, the biggest one that you're most excited about this year for 2025. Maybe it's to be a public speaker. Maybe it's to publish your book. Perhaps it's to reignite your relationship, like, or to find the person that you want as your partner. Whatever that big goal or vision is for you, write that down using 1 or 2 words in the top. Next, in the middle of your diamond, I wish I had, oh, I do have a Post-it note here. So that would be on the top here. Then in the middle, I want you to write down, how will you feel when that vision or that goal comes to fruition? When it fully manifests, when it's your reality, it's like, wow, that dreamy person is in my life, or I'm now speaking from stages and being paid and just, selling my book at the back of the room. When that has become my reality, use 1 or 2 words to describe how you'll feel. Okay. Then this is where the rubber hits the road. You might have to pull out your phone, check your calendar, but look at the bottom. I want you to write down the date that this is going to happen. What's the month? What's the year? Then what I want you to do is go back to the top of your diamond. It's going to feel weird, but I want you to scratch off your goal or your vision. Because what I want you to understand is that the middle is your vision. And I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to wait till this date to feel that way? Heck no. You deserve to feel loved, accomplished, satisfied, proud, seen. I don't know if you ladies are there.
I hear ya.
You deserve to feel that way right now.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not dependent on the when, the how. It is a choice, how you decide to respond, despite the predicament, despite the circumstances, the events. They don't determine. You control, you decide. It's your responsibility to how you decide to respond. That truly is your vision. And so this is where this stuff gets really real. And yes, I have bamboozled you. I have tricked you.
No, I love it.
I hope in the best of ways.
But in the best way, you're right.
In the best way
Absolutely right.
possible, definitely.
So that's a real
excellent.
quick way to find your word.
Okay.
It's
Excellent.
one way. It
Yeah.
might be one way to say, I decide that I will be this way. So I'll give you one more little exercise real quick. E plus R equals O. So I'm a certified Canfield trainer. So since working with Jack, since I saw Jack Canfield, if you would have told me, 6 years from now, he's going to call you the vision board queen when you get on a call, and you're going to be certified as a Canfield trainer, I would have said, I don't know about that. I've been interviewed by him. It's just incredible.
Wow.
But he uses this equation, E plus R equals O. E is the event. O is the outcome. Most people go from E to O. E, the event, COVID, well, my outcome must be I'll have to go back and ask for my job back. I don't see any other way of doing it. Society is going to tell me that you need a paycheck, Deb. Are you crazy? Do you think you can be an entrepreneur in this kind of climate? What are you doing? But I decided that my R, which was to be generous to myself, generous to my ideas, give myself grace, was going to be my response. And that has more weight and carries more weight on my outcome than the event does. Now, the event is still there. And I'm not saying, oh, just everything's roses and unicorns and butterflies and rainbows. It absolutely, events happen, whether it be health-wise but it's how we choose to respond that actually determines our outcome. And so this is where the power word will support you in resetting. And that's where it is, that reset, to support you every day.
It's so
Perfect.
inspiring. It's so amazing
Yeah.
to hear how many lives have been changed in a positive way since this whole fiasco, no? Since the whole pandemic.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
so many people that we've talked to, and our lives were turned upside down. Mine too. I mean, completely turned upside down. I never imagined. I was happily retired. I didn't imagine myself, doing a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, Instagram, writing books. I was so happy just walking in the forest, and then boom, I get locked down in the house, and now what do? And I needed a new plan, and it started this whole new exciting world for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear this from people all the time, and it's amazing, isn't it? That you can take something so bad, so negative, it's like probably the darkest thing that happened to us in our lives, and then it turned us into this super manifestors, right, Lucille? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it speaks to the fact that as humans, we are creators. We're very powerful creators. It's just that, and you know it from your work in the educational system, Debbi, that we're not supported often in nurturing our creativity. Like, I think we can take just about any circumstance almost and create something wonderful out of it. If we are supported, if we have the confidence, if we learn some tips and tricks, but we are amazing creators. And so I love you doing this for people, because it really brings them, I think, into their power, their true power as creators. So I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And so now I wanted to know what makes your vision board work unique. How is it unique from anybody else who helps people create vision boards?
Well, I'll start with the negative to say what it's not. Because I think most people identify, in fact, even people that are very self-aware. Actually, I was in a conversation this morning with a lady. We're both in the same kind of work, but she kept insisting that vision boards are only for beginners. And so I think there are people that even within this work don't give the authority and the respect to what a vision board as a tool can offer. So, and because it's mostly promoted like that on Instagram, on Pinterest, as just a fun collage. In fact, I hear even people that are within my mentorship that call it a vision board party. I purposefully do not call it a vision board party. It is fun and it is a party, and but it's serious work. It's a tool that will change your life. And so I call it a vision board experience. And I also am anti-collage, because heaven's first law is order. One of the things that we saw during COVID was that when humans stopped messing up nature, canals went back to, like, sea life came back into the canals, and the birds were singing more clearly and loud. Like, I remember that. And so heaven's first law is order. So having it be chaotic, where it's like images are overlapping one another, does not mirror how creation was ordered. And so all of this, it has to do with universal laws. So it's tied into the universal law. Now, the main one with vision boards being the law of vibration, or perhaps you've heard law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all vibrating. Everything that is alive is vibrating at a cellular level. And so when we are connected to our vision board, so this is the other piece that makes it distinct, is that I've connected the science into the vision board process. Whereas I think what most people don't is they just see it as a frivolous activity, somehow woo-woo, mystical. It kind of just comes to pass. And I will say that there is no wrong way. I'm not, stringent, strict rules to do it a certain way, but I'll tell you, I have a better way. So if you want to manifest more quickly, then I've been studying the universal laws connected with the best practices, and also through my own life. That's what's so marvelous about this, is follow me on social media and you'll see that I was in one of the most underpaid, underrespected professions in Canada, being in childcare. And now I'm rubbing elbows with some of the most influential thought leaders of the world in 6 years. Like, I can't make
Wow.
that stuff up.
Amazing. Amazing.
So,
It's
so
great.
that's where I know I have a proven process that this stuff works. And so I think the main one would be collage. And so I recommend that my clients leave breathing room, space between the images, so that the eye has a place to rest. One of my clients, she said that her uncle was a window dresser. Like for commercial stores, they have people that dress the mannequins. And she said, Deb, the same principles that you're using in your vision board are the same ones that he would use when he would dress the mannequins, because the eye gets confused. You can't optimize the focus on each garment, on each thing that's being displayed. And so the whole point of a vision board is to focus and to experience the feeling as if it's already in your life. So you can't do that when it's competing with other images. So that would be probably the most distinguishing factor, would be the not collage look. I can give you some others. Would you like more?
Yes,
Absolutely,
but
sure.
just for someone who has never done a vision board. So
Sure.
we're starting off with like a sheet of paper, or like, what are we starting on?
Great question. So I like to recommend that you either get a foam core board. Those in Europe, I think they have a different word for it, but it's just like a sturdy board. I also recommend it being white. Some of my clients, very like 2% will use black, but I would discourage you from using any other bright primary color, because you want it to be the canvas that you're creating on,
The
because
blank
color
slate, right?
does influence our feeling. Pardon?
The blank slate, basically, right?
Exactly, because color influences how we feel. And so you want the choices of the images to influence the feeling of the board, not the board itself. Actually, this pulls back to my early years. I used to really fight hard with government school officials wanting to paint the classrooms in primary colors. I'd say, please don't. Please don't. And they'd say, oh, but it's fun for the kids. I said, no, it's overstimulating for the children and the employees. I said, let them and their artwork stand out, not the paint color on these big, huge walls. So anyways, that's an aside.
No,
But
but
that's how
that
this
makes
all kind of ties in.
Yeah.
what size would this board be? Would it be like a standard size for everyone, or different sizes?
I recommend a board at least 20 by 30 inches, because you want it large enough that you're dreaming big. And so, yeah, so 20 by 30. But when you said about a piece of paper, when I have been doing these vision boards abroad now, because that's another, I have my own magazine, so I can just pop 12 magazines in my suitcase and scissors and glue, and away I go. But what I ask the guests then, if they're traveling, is to buy a photo frame, 20 by 30, bring the paper from the back of the photo. You know how every frame always has that picture, turn it around, and then just roll it up, fold it up, take it in your suitcase. We can build on it, roll it up, fold it up, put it back in your suitcase, and then you reframe it when you get home.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason for the foam core board for most of my clients is because if it's a piece of Bristol board or a simple piece of paper, it will fall off the wall. It will slide behind the desk. It's going to look tattered really quickly. Whereas if you have a foam core, it can actually stand up on its own, and it's more likely that you'll display it. And yeah, so that's a great question.
And do you happen to have handy an example of a vision board that you could show us?
I
If
do.
possible. Oh, great. Good.
So there's one behind me.
Right. I've noticed that.
So yeah, do you want me to bring it closer?
Yes, please.
If you could,
Okay.
yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great.
actually, I'll bring my current one. Another thing is I recommend that clients not throw out their boards. I'm like cringe if I hear people say, oh, I moved and threw out all my vision boards. I'm like, oh, don't do that, because you're going to want to create one at least once a year, maybe 18 months at the longest, and then you're going to create a new one. But they continue to age and mature, because not everything will manifest. And so it's like fine wine, like just continue to have your board dated on the back.
Oh, nice.
So this is my current one. So you can see it's behind glass.
So basically, you're taking the photos that inspire you, like you take them from magazines or online, right?
That's correct. So this is a mixture of my own magazine and other images as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Looks beautiful.
And I also recommend you have them in 7 areas. So most people that are ambitious business people, they're like, oh, I want to make a business board. And I'm like, are you simply a business person? Well, no, you're a daughter, maybe you're a mother, a spouse, you're a continual learner, you're a spiritual person. So all of these 7 areas get to be represented on your board. And because how we do something somewhere is how we do it everywhere.
Where would you display this? Where's the best place to put your vision board?
Again, I'll start with a negative. Where you don't want to put the board is where it has the opportunity to be judged. So you may not want to have it in a public space because it is your mind, your heart on display.
Yeah.
So you would never just walk around letting everybody know what you're thinking, letting everybody know what your dreams are, because people are going to poke holes at that, especially people that haven't done this work. So it's a very intimate and private experience. So you want to have it in a place that is both intimate and private, and that you're going to be able to view it every day, at least once a day, if not twice. So I've heard some people have them on the back of their bedroom door, so that when they close the door at night, it's the last thing they see and it's the first thing that they see in the morning. The best time to focus on your board and spend time with it is before you go to sleep, because you're activating the brain it's going to keep working for you. This is why we wake up with great ideas sometimes, or in the middle of the night with amazing ideas, because our brain is still making sense and working through and trying to be at your command of what it is that you really desire. So that's the best time. I've heard people put it in their closet, like if they have a walk-in closet. I think there might be something with the feng shui, but I actually had mine in my bathroom on the back of the toilet, but feng shui might be like horrified about that. So
Yes.
I'm not really sure.
I think so.
Yeah, that's probably true. And Debbie, what do you think about like a digital vision board? Something that you would, because this is what I used to do every year. I would do like basically like a digital vision board. I'd have it as a screensaver on my computer so that I would be looking at it all the time. How does that compare to like having a physical one?
Well, what's interesting is before we started recording, Lucille was saying that she's doing hers and she was finding all the images exactly what she was looking for.
Yeah.
And so as I answer your question, Lucille, I'm just curious, how did that make you feel?
Fabulous. It was such an engaging, fascinating, uplifting experience. If I were to do it digitally, I'm not sure if it would engage me as much. It would not empower. I wouldn't feel the feeling of it quite as much for me, anyway. Yeah.
No, and that's exactly it. That is it. And you ever had it where you find like something that you are really excited about purchasing? And the IKEA commercial, like start the car, like it's like that. Like it's like you got this great deal and you're just like, oh, it's perfect. And I paid $10 or whatever it is, or you find this great find. Well, the manifestation begins already in this process. So it's not like once I have my board complete, then okay, universe, now you can pay attention. But it's already trusting that the universal laws are working as you're searching for images. And you're not going to have that same feeling, the same sense of accomplishment, the trust by Googling an outcome. So that's one reason. The other is the ego is so sneaky and it takes over and wants to have something that's pretty, wants to have something that's aesthetically pleasing. And so, I want them all to be in the beige tones, or I want them to all be, some of my most challenging clients are artists and interior designers. I have to continue to be on top of them to say, okay, we're not going for pretty. We're not going for decoration. So recently I was telling my most recent academy class, I said, a no-no is decoration and obligation. So those two things do not belong on your board. So if you feel like you're decorating it, this is a hard-working tool, but I want you to trust the process that when your board is complete, it is going to be exactly the way it's supposed to be and it's going to be so beautiful and you will love it. I promise. But we tend to get caught up in the aesthetics of it when we're Googling. And also the sense of perfectionism. So the ego wants it to be, I need it to look just like this. So I encourage my clients, yes, look for images that are specific. Perhaps you're not going to find a 2025 Mercedes in the images that you're looking for, but you could find the logo, you could find a leather seat, you could find a steering wheel, something that represents that you know exactly what you're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense, definitely.
Mhm.
So what kind of magazines would you recommend looking through? What
Well,
do
I'm
you
so glad you asked. I have my own, but this one's based on the thousands of clients I've worked with, and it
Wow.
does represent the most, like my demographic are women, 40 and up. And so these are the images that they have said that they're looking for: travel, friendship, health, learning. Actually, I just got hired again to work in an Indigenous community. So yeah, so it represents that. So this is a good start. This is on Amazon.
Oh, I was gonna ask where it is. Okay, I'm getting one after. Definitely, that's very cool.
Awesome. And it also has my course. So this is,
Ah,
I actually at one point sold this without the magazine for $500. So this is only 19.99 USD. So I think it's 26 Canadian or something. But yeah, it has my course in there, professionally shot with 5 of my girlfriends in my studio that is now closed. But my yeah, so it's a great way to DIY it. So this magazine, but then go to your secondhand store. I didn't know they had magazines until I started to look, but even picture books, you can get great picture books. The dollar store, I've actually gotten beautiful books from the dollar store that are National Geographic or on different topics. And then don't be afraid to start the manifestation journey with asking. Ask, believe,
Right.
receive. So ask others, and they're going to get curious. And you're making a vision board. Well, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm going to set my intention. Like it's giving you an opportunity to declare. That's the name of my company, Dare to Declare. So you're declaring. You don't have to tell them specifics, but that you are being intentional and purposeful. And you may start to draw people in, even to the people that are going to support you to manifest your dreams. So your hairdresser, your dentist, anywhere there's a waiting room, coffee shops. I had a coffee shop give me, what's it? I think it's a business type of magazine. I'm trying to remember, Careers, I think it's called, or something like that. But yeah, and people now save. Like I had to tell people, whoa, enough magazines, because people are dropping them off on my porch.
Another thing I've found is calendars.
Yes.
The beautiful images in old calendars. So once you're done with the year, you can use the pictures for your vision board. Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Um, but you also, I know in your work with people, you make a great distinction between goals and vision. So could you explain to us what the difference is?
Yeah, that is also another distinguishing factor around the way that I do a vision board is that I encourage my clients to dream, I like to say, the vision beyond the vision. So you're saying, oh, I want this. And then I'll say, well, what's beyond that? So to give you an example, and that's going to look different for other people, for different people. So I worked actually a few years ago with my coach. So he asked me to offer a vision board experience for him. And a very accomplished coach, businessman. And he said, oh, I'm going to write a book on my vision board. And I said, well, I don't think that that's actually probably big enough for you. And he says, what do you mean? I don't even have my book written. And I said, I know, but you know that you have all the resources in place to be able to write that book. I said, what's beyond that? Let's talk about you being a bestseller. Let's talk about you being on stage and having the book for sale at the back of the room, or people, like millions of people reading your book and giving you feedback, or that you have small groups, or whatever your vision is. But actually writing the book, even though it's not even in existence yet, that's not big enough for you. But then I had another client, and she was at one of my retreats, and she pops up her head. She's sitting amongst all these magazines before I had my own magazine. And she says, Deb, I have a story within me and it has to come out. I said, awesome. So for her, just the idea of writing a book, she had no idea about the how. And yet, so she's written, I think, 2 bestsellers. She's actually left her 9 to 5, is now accomplished. She does hypnosis. She's a coach. That was only like 4 years ago, I think. So, but it started with the statement, I have a story within me and it needs to come out. And so for her, writing a book on her vision board was big enough. So I also encourage my clients to not, yes, dream big. So that's the vision, is dream beyond what you can actually get to, But, sometimes I have people say, I want to be a billionaire. And I say, do you even know what a millionaire feels like yet? Well, no. Okay, let's do the millionaire or multimillionaire, and then we'll get to the billions. Like, so there still needs to be where you can actually feel the vibration, that you have some connection to it. So that's a vision where you don't know the how. You can't just get to it and make it happen. If you know the steps, then it's not a vision, that's a goal. So once you have the vision that's big, then you're going to take them maybe one or two at a time and focus in on them. So, yeah, I'm going to share something else. So, something else I created this fall is my planner. So, this is a goal planner because people were asking me, okay, so Deb, we've got the vision board. Now, how do we work it out? Well, I'll tell you, I'm working right alongside with everyone here. So, I created mine for January. And so, this is where you create a little mini goal board. But I've broken it down to work, wellness, and wholehearted. So I said the vision board has 7 areas, but goals will just chunk it down. And so for work, it was for me was to enroll 5 academy clients for this cohort. So I've enrolled up to 8, but most recently my last cohorts had 2 or 3. It's my high ticket program. I enrolled 5. So I smashed this goal. Yep. Wellness, walk 10K steps, lose 15 pounds. I just got back from Punta Cana. I was walking 16,000 steps a day. Like it was like, so. And then last is wholehearted, to be kind, have authentic conversations. And this here. And yeah, so I mean, I've been married, this June will be 35 years. And so I had the most beautiful conversation with my husband. And so I'm just thinking that, so this is where it gets really practical. So you know how, but in doing so, you are then manifesting the bigger vision that's on your vision board. They're
I
connected.
love that. What a great idea.
Perfect. Yeah, it's excellent
And then
idea.
it's like you're connecting to your goals every day because you have it on your calendar. That is, Deb, you said there are 7 different categories for your vision board. What would be these 7 categories?
Leisure. So leisure includes, it could include your backyard, being in a hammock, or it could include travel to Spain. Education, and not necessarily the conventional sense, more about what do you want to learn about. So I have on my vision board Spanish. So it could be a new musical instrument or painting or something that you've always wanted to learn about. Spiritual, and that doesn't mean religious. It means expression of spirituality, but it could be religion. I've had somebody, want to go back to church. So whatever that means for you. Professional. So that has to do with your career, but more so also like being in a profession, but it doesn't have to necessarily be paid. It could also be volunteering. So what is it where you are going to be making a difference? Financial. Now, another little tip, I encourage my clients not to put an image of money on their board.
Why is that?
Because money is a how. Money isn't the final vision. It's the energy through to the vision. So I do have, like, at the back of my magazine, a blank check. But even that, I'm like, don't take up real estate on the front of your board. Put that on the back of your board because it's funding the front of your board. So money in itself, and in fact, most of us have a visceral response to money that's not necessarily positive. So I think it doesn't need to be on your vision board. So don't take up space with that. We're not, I would say we're not Scrooge McDuck. Do you remember that cartoon where he just would play with all of his money? Like nobody's sitting around just playing with all their money. So that's why. But financial is more about what does financial freedom feel like, and what might you be doing? I have a lot of pictures in my magazine and of women with their hands in the air, like that. So that sense of freedom. Personal is number 6, and that one has to do with physical health as well as mental health. Another aside around weight, releasing weight. I have many women that is one of their goals, but also their vision is to be a smaller in size and release weight. And I ask them to go beyond that. So what does that feel like in terms of confidence, in terms of you being able to walk into a store and buy whatever you want, in the size? And so focusing less on comparing and on the number on the scale, but more about that feeling.
Have women had success with this?
Yes. And the last one, definitely, I can share a quick story about this, is relationships. So relationships is another one where whether you're wanting to attract someone into your life or whether you're wanting to, as I said, fire up if the marriage has kind of gone dormant, or maybe it's to heal relationships with between you and your children or anything like that. So having, what does that look like? And a relationship to yourself as well. So that's number 7. So absolutely, I had a girl, I actually shared this in my workshop where her name is Melissa, and I overheard at lunchtime that she really wanted to find a boyfriend and settle down and be married. And she was actually one of my employees at the time at the childcare. And so when her board was complete, and I always ask my clients, before you glue it down, if you'd like, I'll audit it for you. So she said, can you come, Deb, and audit it? And I'm like, sure. And I looked, I said, where's your guy? She goes, what guy? I said, the guy you're going to marry. She goes, Deb, I don't even have a boyfriend. I said, well, let's go find him. So we went in the magazines and she found a man that looked like a man that she would be attracted to. And I said, now, that's not enough. Write down all of his attributes. So she made a list of his attributes and she glued that on the back of the board. And he was kind, respectful, did the dishes, like, things like that, helped with housework. And so as she declared her board, and at the end I said, so Melissa, are we all invited to your wedding? She said, you betcha, right? I said, all right. A year later, to the same month, August, the next year, I had an invitation on my fridge with an engagement picture. And I took a picture of it. If you come to my workshop, you'll see that I had her vision board picture and I had her engagement picture side by side. I hardly had any responses initially because nobody thought that they were different. They thought that it was her. I'm like, no. This is her vision before he was even in the picture. This is her reality. And so she got married. They live in St. Thomas here in Ontario.
Wow.
She's also manifested her dream home. So 100% this stuff works.
It's amazing. So Deb, what's happening at the back of the vision board? You keep talking about the back, put this on the back, put the money on the back, so what's going on with the back of the vision board?
Well, the back you don't see, but you know that it's there. You've actually written it down. So we're 42% more likely to manifest when we write our goals down. When we add images, it goes up to 65%.
Wow.
When we have accountability, which is this beautiful community that you and Lucille are creating, it goes up to 95% with accountability. Yeah. So the back of the board has to do with, that it's there, you've written it down, you've declared it, but it's not your main focus. Your main focus, which is going to invite the feeling and raise the vibration, are the images.
That is so
amazing. That's amazing. So how do we actually use it in practice? Now, you said that you place it somewhere where you can see it morning and night, especially, and it sounds like you engage with it more at night before bedtime, but how do we engage with it exactly?
Yes, and I also just want to go back to something that you'd said earlier, Lynn. It can be digital in the fact that you could take a photo of it and upload it to your screensaver. Right. So that's what I do. And I actually, when I travel, I have an 8x10 of it. Like I print one out and I put in a little frame and I take it with me. So I still have it with me.
Wow.
But the more often you can interact with it, the better. So that it's
when you
always...
interact, what are the intentions? Like when you look at this, what are you thinking? Do you need to have something behind it, like a kind of a meditation, or how do you bring it to life?
So the rocket fuel to it, and I haven't even talked about this yet, is affirmations. Mm-hmm. So affirmations, which are also then attached to a goal. So I'm so happy and grateful now you might have heard that Jack Canfield uses that same protocol as well. Bob Proctor did as well. So starting off your affirmation with, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then the remainder of it needs to be specific and brief. Now that I earn 10K consistently serving my clients powerfully, maybe something like that. So saying your affirmations as you are taking in the board. So if you meditate, so for everyone, this is going to be different, but if you meditate with your board. I actually spend time with my board and I take each image in. So I do it in a clockwise motion. I'm an A-type personality, so I don't know. I'm a rule follower. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it clockwise. And so I just take each image in and I imagine myself immersed in the image, in the experience. So whether that's, if you saw earlier, this is, this woman like with all this confidence. And so I imagine that this is me and I'm traveling and I'm speaking and I'm looking fabulous, feeling amazing. And, this could be in Spain. This could be, I don't know, European
It could
destination.
be. That looks maybe more Italy. It looks kind of maybe a lake with mountains, but nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be Spain.
So actually, I should probably do some more work around that because the more that you can go, forget who says this, whether might be Gabby Bernstein, but that you can go to the end of the vision, meaning that you go all the way in so that it's not like, oh, it's somewhere, but that you actually picture where you are. You could smell the sea, the ocean maybe behind you, or if it's a lake, that I'm feeling all the feels. I'm feeling the wind in my hair. But most importantly, I'm feeling that sense of confidence, that sense of accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I move into the next one, and I'm picturing myself in this beautiful little house that's on stilts in the sea. So it's just taking in each of the images and feeling myself in them.
I love that.
Beautiful.
That's a beautiful board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You should sell like like ready boards. That it's like, here's your board and we send it to you and all you need to do is manifest it.
You know what? I have been approached to do that
No.
as an app.
No.
You're missing the point. If it's easy,
Yeah, then it's not.
you're missing the point.
Of
It's
course.
simple.
Yeah.
So that lady wasn't wrong when she said this morning to me as a criticism, this is for beginners.
Yeah.
And I thought this is getting a little bit confrontational, so I exited that conversation. But I thought she's not wrong. It is for beginners, but we're all beginners. Like
Yeah.
every time we get to a new level, we're beginning again. I think what she's misunderstanding it's simplicity. I have a client actually, he's a cardiologist from Ireland. He is one of my graduates in the academy. And I remember him coming to my free workshops. And finally, I'm like, enough of this stalking. Like, what is going on with you, Robert? And he says to me in his Irish accent, he says, Deb, this process is so simple. And he just kind of paused. And I was rather insulted by that initially. And he said, no, 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 you misunderstand. He said, as physicians, we often make things so complicated. He said, the simplicity is the beauty of it. And so he's one of my most successful graduates. For one, he's a physician. He said, a cardiologist teaching vision boards is kind of like a cardiologist teaching knitting. He said, everybody goes, what?
Not combination.
But he said he has wait lists for people who want to do his vision boards, but he has a coaching program as well, like a wellness coaching, and he's a full-time still in his practice, but very busy man. I said, make it a VIP day, like dangle the carrot, tell them they need to take your whole wellness coaching program first, and then they get to do the vision board, where normally we do it up front. But I said, if there's such a demand, make it like a reward type of thing. So, but anyways, I don't know where I was going with all that, but yeah, that's his experience about the simplicity of it.
So you sort of, referenced it indirectly, but if you were to compare what you were like before you got into vision boards and what you're like now, how has this whole experience changed you?
I feel that question. I've never been asked that before. It makes me emotional. I'm a different person. I'm a better person because I strive to be better every day. For most of my life in my 30s and into my 40s, I was on autopilot. And being intentional, I'm a Christian, so I'll just speak in that term as well. I'm a better Christian because of this work. I see things more clearly. I have more gratitude to my creator. I have so everything is deeper, wider, richer. Like it's like food tastes better because I'm present. And I look for opportunities to be grateful.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Deb, tell our listeners, please, how they can get in touch with you, where they can find you, how they can learn more about this.
The easiest and the hub would be my website. So it's under my name, and my name, Debbi, is just spelled with an I, Debbi. And my last name is Sluys, SLUYS.com, or my company is declare.com. But DebbiSluys.com will get you to my website. On my front page, you'll see there's a drop down for the magazine if you want to go there. It's easy through Amazon. My planner is there as well. You can do the drop down for the planner. As well, there is an opportunity for a free discovery call. So it's right on my front page. Pop in there. I'd love to have a chat. If anything has sparked some interest around this and you just like to talk more, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I mean, this was just such a whirlwind tour of how to manifest in a very, as your client, the cardiologist, said, in a very simple but profound way. It's very profound, the effect that this can have.
Thank
So
you
true.
so much, Debbie.
Yeah, thanks so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks for
everyone.
having me.
Thank you for tuning into the Rewilded Human podcast. We hope you're leaving with insights to reconnect with your natural, vibrant self. Remember, the information shared here is for educational and inspirational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for any personal health concerns. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit. We'll see you next time, ready to dive even deeper. Stay wild, stay true, and stay tuned.